What's going on, fragrance family? It's your man Gator, better known as the Novice Knows, out here in these fragrance streets. Big shout out to everybody out there in the Novice Nation, man. Wherever, however, whenever this video is finding you, hope you're having a great day out there, man. I'm super excited and a little bit trepidous to talk about the fragrance I'm talking about today, man. I was super excited when I first saw it because of what it was inspired by. Now, one of my favorite summertime, springtime freshies comes from Perfumes de Marly. It's a fragrance called Sedley. A lot of y'all are familiar with that particular DNA, nice, bright, minty type of DNA, man. Kind of almost a cooling kind of sensation with it when you're wearing it. And it's one of my favorite go-tos when it comes to, trying to get out there and getting this, battle of heat, especially out here in these Atlanta streets, man. So, when I saw that Lucianno was trying to take a crack at interpreting the DNA, despite all of the issues I've had with Lucianno recently, I said, you know what? I'll bite. I will bite. Like I said, number one, because it's one of my favorite freshies out there that is trying to interpret. Number two, because the bottle just looked so damn good to me, man. So the fragrance in question is this. This is part of Lucianno's Titan series. It is Dominion. Look at that bottle, man. This is one of my favorite. I love that blue gradient on it, man. It's the matte black at the top. You can't even read the writing because of the lighting there on the matte. That's how beautiful that is. Look at that. Love this gradient on here, man. Simple bottle, but still beautiful. Nice little top there. Decent little atomizer going there as well, man. But I was impressed with the bottle in the Titan series so far. It seems like their Titan series, while their previous series looks like they were going after a lot of fragrances from the house that shall not be named, this series seems to be going after Perfumes de Marly, the Titan series. They've got a Greenlee interpretation. They've got an Altair interpretation. I think we did a video on that one, the bourbon that's down there right now. They have a Perseus interpretation. So I was like, let me see what's going on. I wasn't so happy with the Perseus one. I wasn't that happy with the Altair interpretation. Although on their own they were decent type of fragrances, they weren't really capturing the spirit of the fragrance that they were interpreted by, or were trying to interpret, I should say. So I said, no, what the hell? Let's see what's going on with this one. So there's not a whole lot of information online as far as the notes on here, but just from a whiff on it, a wearing on it, and then comparing it to the original notes of the fragrances trying to, interpret, the notes are pretty much the same. So just to go over that right quick though, the notes for Sedley, the top notes are lemon, mint, bergamot, grapefruit, and mandarin orange. The middle notes are lavender, rosemary, geranium, and olibanum. And then the base notes are ambroxan, sandalwood, vetiver, cashmeran, cedar, and patchouli. And I put the emphasis on that word cedar because that one note plays a huge part of every fragrance in the Titan series, apparently. So it seems like all of the fragrances in this Titan series that Lucianno has are going to go in the direction, the twist that they have compared to the fragrance they're interpreting is that they're going to add a more woody element, and they use cedar for the most part to add that woody element to it. Just to get into it right now, the big differences between the original and this fragrance. When you spray this on, and I just sprayed it on the strip, but I think I'm gonna put it on skin as well. But when you spray it on, you get hit with the lemon and you get hit with the mint. You start getting hit with those aspects that you get in the OG fragrance of Sedley. The main difference that you get is the quality. The first difference you notice, like I said, with quality, is the mint. The mint in the original is a bright and vibrant and slightly peppery, but more natural feeling type of mint. Now, even though Sedley's it's still a little synthetic, it still feels a lot more natural, in the air. This one, it actually is a more dull type of mint that comes across in here. Now, accompanying that mint, you do get a nice blend of the lemon. They did a really good job as far as blending the notes together here to kind of give it a little bit of congruency, to give it a little bit of depth, actually. So you're getting all of those facets that you would get in the OG Sedley fragrance. The difference is, like I said, it's the quality. It's just a couple of tiers down. One of the other things, though, that happens in Sedley is that it slowly begins to transition into you start getting woody facets as it begins to dry down. This happens in this fragrance as well. The difference is it happens a lot earlier. So while the mint and the lemon and the blend at the top in Sedley kind of lasts for a good little while. I mean, I'm talking about 30 to 45 minutes into the dry down, and even further, you start to still pick up the mint and things like that. You start picking up those woody nuances around that 45-minute mark or so, and it progresses. It's a nice, beautiful woody nuance that comes in. With this one, though, it comes in a lot earlier. You start picking up the woodiness literally within the first 20 minutes into this fragrance. You start to really, and even earlier actually, you start to feel that woody base kind of bubbling up here. Now, because this is a different quality of cedar, it actually makes the fragrance lean a little bit sweeter than it does in Sedley. Sedley's not really what you would call a sweet, quote-unquote, fragrance. But the cedar in the Dominion makes it lean towards a sweet type of vibe. So you get a dulled mint, and then you get a really it's pleasant. It's a pleasant sweetness that's coming from the cedar, but it's not the same type of woodiness that you would get from the original. Now, as you get about an hour and a half to 2 hours into the dry down, most of the minty facets, most of the citric facets of the fragrance are pretty much dissipated. So what you begin to be left with at around that hour and a half to 2 hour mark is a solid but fairly mid-level quality cedar, and you start picking up a little bit of a lavender that's there. You also start picking up a little bit more of and I'm guessing that it's the sandalwood, because there's no real note breakdown on it, but it gets a little bit of a creamy type of vibe to it. It gets really, really pleasant. It starts to really kind of veer off like a Lucianno does, because Lucianno's a gun of Lucianno. It veers off from the fragrance it was initially interpreting and kind of goes its own path. It goes, like I said, into more of a creamy type of cedar and lavender mix, and it is quite pleasant. It actually lasts longer in that form than it does as an interpretation of Sedley. Like I said, you're getting Sedley, or interpretation of Sedley, probably for the first 45 minutes to maybe an hour. But then after that, it goes into this beautiful cedar and lavender mix. The sweet cedar, the low quality cedar in here is actually a good thing, because it continues to bubble off of your skin. So it makes it seem like Dominion actually lasts longer than the original Sedley. I do get somewhere in the range of about, or I did get somewhere in the range of about 8 or 9 hours the few times that I've worn this fragrance. I can still pick up the cedar and the sandalwood lavender mix. It's a beautiful dry down to this thing. Now, of course, the elephant in the room. Of course, this isn't the first interpretation of that Sedley DNA. How does Dominion compare to the big silver horse here? So, MAAHIR Legacy, one of the more popular versions of that Sedley DNA that's out there. MAAHIR Legacy, in comparison to this, first off, MAAHIR Legacy is a lot more synthetic than Sedley is. Dominion feels a lot more natural in the way that it's presented, so it's a little bit closer to Sedley as far as the way the oils are better in here than they are in MAAHIR Legacy. Just bottom line. I will say that while this does deter from being a true Sedley interpretation, you know, maybe about an hour to hour and a half in, MAAHIR Legacy doesn't do a whole lot better because it goes into this really peppery type of interpretation of that DNA. Literally within the first like 20 to 30 minutes, it's a very peppery type of interpretation of the Sedley DNA. I like MAAHIR Legacy, but it's never been a super love of it because I had Sedley first. So I always thought that this one was a little bit of a reach as far as being, oh my god, this is the greatest clone fragrance ever. No, not really. The pepper really throws this particular fragrance off, which makes me lean more to this fragrance being my favorite interpretation of the DNA of Sedley. My final thoughts on it: it's a great fragrance on its own. I think it does interpret Sedley pretty well in that first, like I said, lower quality, but does interpret Sedley pretty well in that first half hour to maybe an hour. Then it kind of goes in its own direction. That being said, it goes in a really pleasant direction. Not upset with this particular buy. I think it is a solid pickup for anyone who wants to get something that's going to be a little bit fresh, completely office safe. It does have a good little bit of an arm's length worth of sillage that goes on in it for about 2 hours worth of time. It goes into a skin scent, you know, for the remainder of the fragrance. Definitely solid for a $48, I mean a $38 buy, because I think right now it's like $38 at a lot of the discounters. I wouldn't discourage you from picking this up. You know, if you just want to add something that's a safe fragrance, a good office fragrance, hey, this might be the one that you want to pick up, man, and you won't be disappointed with it. That's all I got on this fragrance, guys. If you put your nose on it, let me know in the comments, man. Let me know what you think of it. And as always, guys, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, share this video with somebody you know that loves fragrances, guys. And as always, make sure whatever you're doing, you make today the best day ever on purpose. See you guys later. Peace out.